Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. Uh, Getting started here. Let's make sure everything is looking good as far as chat and up and running. It appears so. I want to thank everyone that can join us tonight on the morning watch. For us people that trial, and since the prosecution progressed and the defense won't open up until Tuesday morning. Today for the holiday if they're not going to be around. But before we get started in that, we'll do a brief introduction and a little bit of housekeeping for people that are joining us for the first time tonight. Um, if you would, in our chat, just be respectful of families, be respectful of our mods, and respectful of each other. Enjoy your time here and look forward to answering any questions you have. We'll have a very short presentation discussing the things about the Murdaugh trial in South Carolina and the homicides of involving Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. And so let me do a brief introduction, and then we'll get started. Um, I'm a I'm Steve. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I started off my career working in the jail. I went on road patrol and then eventually into investigations. During that 20 years, I had all different types of training from SWAT to becoming a crime scene technician certified for the state of Georgia. And after and during those 20 years, I handled all different types of cases from thefts, burglaries to homicides. And after I retired, found the true crime world and decided to become a ambassador for law enforcement and started my channel. And it has steadily grown, and looking forward to the future because we're working on cold cases, and which I never expected that we'd even have that would ever occur. And Tuesday night we'll be going into some more information about the case that we'll be looking at cases. But tonight we're going to be looking at the Murdaugh homicides. And let's see who's over here in chat and see what's going on. Let's see here. Let's see here. There's Verbal. Good to see you. There's Mitzi. Good to see you. There's Dave. Hey, Dave. What's up? Waffle House, Dave. Jocelyn, Crystal, or Cynthia Gaines. Good to see you. Single mom of four. There's Triple S. Let's see. Madison Stevens. How you doing? Um, Jeff. Good to see you. Oh, look at here. We got a new member. Cynthia Gaines, a YouTube member. Get you a blue light. Appreciate your support. Thanks a lot to us. Helps us do a lot of things that we would not be able to do with you. Let's see here. Terry Johnson. Good to see you. Tina. Got some new names in here tonight. Great to see y'all. Um, First time here. Glad you're here. We're here a couple of times a week after midnight with a morning watch, and we just, enjoy everybody here, and we'll discuss everything you want, but we focus on a little bit of everything. Sally's here. Sally, she hit me off with a question. Do you think he's guilty? I think he's absolutely responsible for for the homicides, without doubt. And he's has the prosecution proved that he is the one that pulled the triggers. Now that I would have to wait and see. I don't. I, the biggest things that what they have against them, and I made some notes. They called over 60 witnesses. It's a circumstantial case, um, and they don't have a murder weapon. Um, they have a lot of circumstantial evidence, such as uh, bringing up that it was his finances, which is motive, which is absolutely fair because he is a scammer, a criminal, stole millions of dollars, and so that's fair. And that it was brought to his attention that it had been discovered on that day of the homicides. So I can see where the prosecution is going with that motive. So that's fair to say also. Um, but there is some gunshot residue that's on the raincoat that they brought up. But um, I don't know if I have a raincoat that I own that doesn't have gunshot residue on it. And I'll explain to you one of the reasons about that in a few minutes of how the gunshot residue is on my coats. Doesn't mean that's why it's on his coats. That's how come it's on my coats. Other than I shoot a lot of guns. Um, and but the biggest piece of evidence is that video that Paul made of where Alex says he's taking a nap. And of course, Paul has him on the video talking in the background. And that's huge. Um, and that is the only thing. Without that video, I do not think that we'd even be on trial right now. But some of the statements he's made about discovering the bodies and within 20 seconds able to check on both bodies and call 911, that's a little sketchy. It's stretched. I went out and I tried that. I can't do it. But I did see a 30-year-old young man that assisted me in testing. And he could make the time. He could make it in 19 seconds. But he said that he didn't feel comfortable that of if he could have determined if there was life or not, because he just ran up to each other, touched them, ran to the other, touched, and tried to roll over and got back. Then we have the missing shirt that he was seen wearing earlier that day. And then there was a flurry of movement right before he left to go to his mother's house, which is unexplained, but maybe he's woke up in a rush to get to his mother. But without that video, I would say that the state would absolutely have no chance at the conviction. But with the video, they have a chance. But have they convinced 12 other people? It's going to be a hard thing to believe that they've absolutely at this point. Now we don't have what the defense is going to do and what witnesses they're going to bring, and so they may be able to explain some of this away. But let's see here, what else we got. Wendy Anderson. Hi, Stephen. This is Steve from Vancouver Island. Love the educational aspect of your channel. Yes, thank you for that. And I've got some questions in my comments today that I've got to answer back because we've had a flurry of growth over the last week, and about some of the things I present and that I bring forth from the crime scene world of CSI, processing evidence and things, is that I have an opportunity to show web sleuths out there how law enforcement does certain things. And I carry it not only for in the Murdaugh trial, there's certain things I covered that is not in evidence, such as was the tarp cleaned, was the raincoat cleaned, and was the clothing they was wearing, did it have any type of blood stain on it, and had it been analyzed and what evidence was brought forth. But I only get a chance whenever I create this that I cover those bases and I go more than just what is brought into evidence in trial, so that we'll be better educated for other cases as they come forward. And we don't know what the defense is going to bring up, and if they bring up certain aspects of the case about cleanup or things of that nature, of how impossible it is, you have a basis from my testing of showing how difficult it is to clean up blood stains and certain high velocity, which is very microscopic, those small droplets that it's hard for me to clean those up. And and so you'll have something to fall back on, and so that when it gets to the defense. But it's interesting that people, um, you know, in the true crime world and the web sleuths, of course, people question why you do certain things. I understand that, and I'm a small channel on a fixed budget, and so whenever I look at an aspect of a case, I have to make sure I cover every angle, um, what the prosecution may do, what the defense may do, and and how other experts that may take the stand may approach certain things and tell their side of the story and why they reach those conclusions. And that's difficult to do in just an hour at a time. But we try our best. And so you just have to bear with us sometimes. Let's see here. Who else we got in here? Wendy Anderson. I hope I answered that question about, and I thank you for about the educational aspects. Let's see here. Oh, Montana. Good evening from Montana. Thanks for all your good works. Thank you, Terry. And I just answered that. I think about that. I believe so. Without the video, I wouldn't even um, hesitate that they haven't proved it. Proving it and thinking that is two different things. Do I think he's guilty? Yes. Have they proven it? I don't. I mean, it's going to be close on that. Kathy says, "Thank you for your service from Oregon. It was an honor. I worked with a lot of great men and women in my career, and and we tried to do what we thought was right for our community. And we have a great community, and there's no one deserves to be preyed upon by these predators and the misfits of our society. And I had I think, a impactful career, or at least I hope I did. And I hope it was to the betterment of my community. Let's see here. Lieutenant, hi Steve. Thank you for allowing me here. Hey, absolutely, you're welcome here. Look forward to uh, your interactions and chat and everything. Thank you. I wonder how long it would take me to drive down to Virginia to hit up a Waffle House. Laughing out. I don't know. I'll meet you there. You just, um, if we can work it into the schedule. I don't have any cases in Virginia though right now. I'm trying to think. Uh, They're in Tennessee. I have. I don't. There's some things I could look at in Tennessee, but I don't have. Although there is a possibility I'm going to be close to that because I've got a case that's linked to. I don't know if it's North or South Carolina, but it's linked to Indiana. So I've got. There may be a possibility I'll be up that way at some point. Jeff here says, I hate to say it, but the prosecution has been defending Alex far, far too much, in my opinion. Are your pockets being lined? Um, I think, I don't think so. I hope that's not the case. Um, and, but it has been kind of the way that they've approached it and jumping one part of the prosecution table to the other, and the presentation of the witnesses has not been fluid. It's been very jumpy from here to there and hard to understand. You have an expert financials, and then you have uh, a pathologist, and then you have maybe the crime scene. And sometimes they lined everything up, but there's a lot of times they just jumped all over the kingdom come. It didn't make any sense. Southern Gal, true guy. So glad to be able to catch a morning watch live doing the happy dance. Southern Gal, I got to look that up. I got to see if you have a channel and stuff, and I'll check on that. Take a note of that. I love the name. Oh man. Oh, and one thing said, if he snuck up on them eating blood around other places, has to be his prints. Uh, and that was the thing that when you look at the video, you have a family in the middle of something that families do. They're down at the dog kennels taking care of the dogs and finding a chicken that one of the dogs that attacked. And conversation is what you would expect of anyone that was enjoying their time with their family or interactions with your family. And then within minutes, you know, it turns uh, and their phones go dead or become inactive, which is the prosecution's stance that that's when the homicide occurred. And um, and so yes, he, there would be some type of um, contamination on him, either if he committed the crimes, um, he was close enough for the high velocity blood spatter, or if he only reported it and someone else committed crimes and he went up and had interactions within those uh, close proximities to the victims and touched them or walked in some of the blood stain, some of that area where there was a lot of blood, that there should be some type of contamination cross transfer onto him on his shoes, on his knee, um, where he touched and possibly touched his shirt or his pants or shorts. And we haven't had a lot of that evidence brought up, and so we're just going to have to see where it goes with it. Single mom of four, she's in Virginia. All right, Danger Dave, we got to go there. That way, we got at least three of them. Kathleen Harris, good to see you. Um, I saw that beach towel in the driver's seat of the Suburban, and I didn't know if it was something that might have been left there at some point by Maggie, or if it was used if he did shower or rinse himself off. And I don't know if law enforcement took it and tested. We know that if they um, um, took it and processed it, we know that they did find um, type of blood or DNA on it because it wasn't brought into the trial or as evidence also. And how would he manage to get all the evidence of blood off the coat, but not the gunshot residue? T.S. Jackson asked. And that's a good point. Um, Speaking on the raincoat about the gunshot residue, um, if it's raining outside, and I've been out myself hunting, and it starts to rain, and I've taken my raincoat off and covered my hunting rifle or shotgun if I'm bird hunting with my raincoat to keep it dry, I can get wet. I can towel off and everything. But and so the blue raincoat that you see me that I used in my testing last week, um, of course, has been around. I don't know how many times that it's been wrapped around a gun, and so I have no doubt that that raincoat has GSR inside it, outside of it, all over it. And I even washed it last week um, as I prepared the presentation and sent the video to Chris on some things that we were as we move forward with our collaboration, and which Chris has helped me out a lot. And for you guys that are new to my channel, and if you're unfamiliar with Chris at the Mob Crew, Monsters Under a Bed, check him out. And he has most of the videos, um, and he's been assisting me and our collaboration is putting the videos out while I can do the testing, because it's a lot of work uh, getting the control tests done and then trying to create videos more than I can handle. Kathy said, "Hey, Verb, let's see here. Yeah. And unless the time frame is off, you have a tough time of checking them. And I agree. You know, we have from the data of when the vehicle and then the 911, the phone information of movements and when it activated and when the phone call, 19 seconds is moving, especially over that distance. Um, it took me far longer. Now, could I have done it? I think in my video, it took me 37 seconds. Could I have gotten it down into the 20s? Yes. Could I do it in 19 seconds? Not me. Uh, but I could have gotten down in the 20s. It would have just been a walk over, look at them, and see the severity of their injuries from gunshot wounds and just backed away. Um, Getting down um, uh, and trying to roll Paul over, picking up his phone, which I didn't even do that. I'd forgotten about that part of it. I just did the rollover simulation. And but looking at his phone, because if he picked his phone up, it would have been a second or two, and then set it down, and then reestablishing, getting back to his feet, and going over and checking on Maggie in the order that he said. So yeah, I couldn't do it in 15 seconds. There's Jill Austin from Australia. Good to see you. Single mom of four. I admit I've learned a lot from this channel. Thank you. That is absolutely made my. Yes. Thank you for your service, Mr. Steve. Like I said, it was an honor, and I worked with a lot of great people, and run across them every now and then, and we go back over some fond memories. Um, do they have a pressure washer near their kennels? Maybe pressure wash the blood away. There's also a possibility that they have a pool, and if you jumped in it, the chlorine is likely. Um, I haven't seen a pool on the property. That doesn't mean it's not there. Um, and but and I don't know how much um, water pressure, and I don't know if the kennels or the properties is either on a well or on county water in that location. I have no idea uh, what the setup is and how much water pressure just off of the garden hose. Um, you know, uh, but the pressure washers and things, it just wasn't enough time, I think, for um, uh, from the time of the homicides to allow anything other than a quick rinse down or a quick shower, and then make the timeline from the time the phones went dead to the time that he went mobile. It's extremely small. Let's see. Um, do you believe he hosed at the kennels? Yes. I believe whoever the offender is, if it is Alex or someone else involved, um, especially um, whoever is the trigger on Paul, to get that angle and be that close to proximity. And because one of the things that we have to look at um, in my test I made is this in this image right here, which is a blue tarp I laid out, and up under that little fog mist and dead center is a raincoat, and I put placards around the tarp and shot it with a 12 gauge shotgun, and it creates this cloud of if it's a human, which it simulates this aspect, it creates a cloud of not only blood but of human tissue. And I shot the shot with ballistic gelatin, which replicates the muscles of the human body and the I infused it with synthetic blood, and when I shot it, it creates this um, all these fine particles and debris that went across this tarp, almost 10. But I believe the tarp I used here was 10 feet by 12 foot, and I think it pretty well covered it because on all the placards they were clearly had blood spatter. As you can see, the shirt. I shot it twice. I shot the picture on the left has a high velocity, and that was from this initial shot. Then I turned the shirt over and I shot again with a bag that contained ballistic gelatin with the infused synthetic blood, and it created the shirt on the right, which was flipped over. On the one on the left had you can only see the larger droplets, but it was upon close inspection had all the high velocity. The shirt was absolutely covered with it, and I shot the ballistic gelatin. It creates a little bit different pattern. It'll create larger droplets, as you can see, and, because that interaction of the kinetic energy striking muscle and blood and human tissue that creates this type of pattern. I've seen it time and time again at a lot of locations where there was any type of gunshot injuries. Let's see here. And you're correct, Dave. And I believe that will be her. I mean, they're looking. Anytime you're looking for any one, and you find a body in the general area, um, it typically is that. Now, that may not be the case if you're doing a search and there's some type of serial offender, such as what they found with Green River Killer and also Ted Bundy. Sometimes while they were searching and one victim, they would look around the area and find other victims. And if you get the chance on one of the streaming networks, they've got a killing fields, and it's similar to that there's multiple victims that they found over an extended period of time in the same location. Extremely interesting. Alex Bin Lyons, sloppy criminal from the time he threw the knife and cut his tire and to the phone where he put the clothes and shoes in the back. It was an interesting case, and where would he have gotten rid of it? I think I'm sure they've searched all the watery areas that have bodies of water that have been able to dispose of it. Let's see here. Thought criminal. Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you, Mitzi. I'm extremely proud of how the channel has grown and how and where we're heading. Yes, this was a terrible, terrible thing that the chief SLED investigator um, testified grand jury. There was high velocity blood spatter matching pollen maybe on Alex shirt when there was no blood at all. And their crime scene original guy, this guy that's out of Oklahoma, I think, that formerly worked for the SLED, it was a mess. He changed reports and things, and that's how come we're getting here from him. They did bring in this other blood spatter crime scene expert, and I agree with him on most everything. Um, and there's a few things that, if I'd been part of the team, that we would have argued over, and that's what happened. You, when you're there and you're part of investigating the crime scene, you have your investigators, you'll have your coroners, pathologists, you have other CSI guys, and law enforcement people, and you'll hash it out. You'll talk about it because people see things in different ways, and the truth is in there somewhere. And it's just a matter of being open minded, walking yourself through what does the evidence tell you, and figuring it out. And, um, not like I said, that CSI guy, I probably 90% of it, some of it, me and him with probably discussed and figured out. I wish I'd had all the correct angles, measurements, and the blood spatter analysis to those numbers. And, um, and I would probably, or I wouldn't have probably, I would have done a much better job in my reenactments than just working off a hole in a window and knowing where the trail started in the room, and knowing Paul's height. That's kind of limited information to start with. It worked out in the end, and it seems to that the recreation is relatively close to what he represented in court. Dave said he hoped he didn't blow anything up having a night off. Half of the UK, love your channel. It's 5 a.m., but I have to watch you. Thank you. I appreciate you staying up to 5 a.m. Goodness. You are truly a morning watch person. Kathleen, I believe since they were lured there that night, that to have Paul videotape suspecting Alex was capable of using future divorce, whatnot, could have been threat and prior. It seemed to be spontaneous because when you listen to Paul's friend, it says, which these younger guys and ladies, whenever they know the technologies that um, have a signal where they communicate, you can't FaceTime, make a video. Um, I would all of that, but it's amazing how these youngins can figure all that stuff out. Yes. Dave says Waffle House food is so awful. It's so good. It is. Um, Mrs. Uh, Mrs. Steve and I, we go to the house quite often. And for anyone out there that is offended by, and I get those comments, I get about one comment a month about people think it's so out of line for me to refer to my wife as Mrs. Steve. They don't realize that our community started calling her Mrs. Steve. She fell in love with it, absolutely loves it, and she's the one that got the coffee cups. And some people jump in and they think that it's some type of Southern uh, way of insulting someone I've been married to for 33 years. I had no part in it. I just find it humorous when people jump to certain conclusions um, that it may offend them in their world. But Mrs. Steve, she absolutely loves it, and uh, she wants me to refer to her in that manner most of the time, and so I do. Oh, it's amazing what some people will do, try to troll, I guess. Yeah, let's see. Um, Curtis from Detroit. I just can't believe the second interview with police on the 10th, how composed he is. He got his other stress and gone. His gone. Sorrow. His dad also was dying. Looks like he could have cared less. It is, he is well in control, but once again, certain people can handle stress better than others. What does it mean? I've seen some people that absolutely cannot. He's an attorney, and does that excuse uh, the way he handled it? Like I said, I can't judge uh, uh, people on that, and I don't know how to behave under those circumstances. Um, and I've seen a lot of sorrow. Blueberry, blueberry pancakes. Mrs. Steve likes blueberry pancakes. Uh, Steve, will you ever go and check out the Summer Wells case? It depends if I get called up. I haven't been contacted by anybody from this family. I have contact with several families across the country, and I prioritize those that are willing to step and reach out to me. And which Tuesday night we're going to be looking at. We have some great news on a cold case in Texas about having access to certain properties, and so we'll have a show Tuesday night on the Amber Crumb case. And I'm looking forward to sharing that. And Larry was extremely happy when I contacted him today when the private investigator from Texas called me and had gotten us some access. But we'll be more about that on Tuesday. Um, What's with Maggie's wedding ring being found under her car seat? Now, there's a couple, it's just speculation on my part. I think she had went that day to have her nails done, and I don't know if it's something that women do at times when they have their nails done. Do they take it off, or was it some type of marital issue with her living on another house on the coast? And so I would have to let the women decide which way that would be because um, some people wear wedding bands, some people don't. Um, I do not wear a wedding band. I have a wedding band, um, but uh, due to me breaking my fingers and due to my career over the years, I didn't want to have it destroyed. And then after so many years of not wearing it, my fingers are not the same size. I need to go have it adjusted where I can wear it. Now that I'm not in that business of in certain types of encounters of where fingers get broken when you're in confrontations. But the ladies would probably be able to explain the wedding band far more than I could. Did you watch Chris's video earlier? What are your thoughts on Alex possibly being heard saying why in the background of his 911 call? In my opinion, it makes it very possible a second person was involved. I did, and I talked to Chris earlier, and it is strange, and I don't know if it was some part of some type of redaction because they're talking about phone numbers and the number, and then so I don't know if it's related to that or if there is actually um, someone there because it is interesting because what question could someone ask you of why you would say what or why um, and then there's also in that same audio when the dispatcher is telling them that they're on their way, and he says nobody out of nowhere and what is it related to? And then he goes into that movie, which I found strange also. There's several parts of that I never paid attention to it until Chris brought it up. Chris has a good ear. Yes. Indiana Nana says for sure thought criminal. I would never put my wedding ring under the seat in my car. And like I said, that's more something I would leave it up to the ladies to decide. Dave is fascinated uh, with Waffle House and Shoney's. I like them both too, Dave. You have to come all the way up to your state. And Thought Criminal says the OnStar alongside the phone data puts it all together for me. It practically shows uh, what happened. None of it is coincidental. I understand. Absolutely. I don't know if it was tested, but if it was tested, if they'd found any DNA, they would have. It would have been out in court. And I don't know of any DNA linking this crime to anyone being brought into court. Um, Southern Gal says, "Thanks, Mr. Steve. My channel covers missing and unsolved crime. I'll check it out. Glad to have you here." Mob Crew's here. Good. I like Mob Crew. Chris is yeah, I don't know how many of y'all have ever had a phone call with him. He's absolutely hilarious. Oh goodness, we'll have to uh, have some of our conversations. I look forward to working with him on some cases this year, and he's hilarious on the phone. I haven't met him in person yet, but I'm looking forward to that. Mitzi, I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like she was headed for her son. I would be, but I can't think of anything worse. True, and that's how come I believe Paul was first. Also, uh, the homicide that he was the first victim due to that he wouldn't have stayed in that room, regardless, even if there was two offenders and someone's outside and is attacking your mother, he would have come out of that room or tried to, and that may be the case. We just don't know. And but then, in the reverse order, if the mother sees what's happening to him, she's going to go to them, which is absolutely proven throughout nature. There's nothing worse than, as far as being fearless, than the female of every species. They're absolutely, when it comes down to it, they don't run often. Um, did they catch a footprint that walked over the blood? You know, when I watch some of the videos and when you see some of the pictures, the whole dog kennel was washed down, and over there where the hose was wound up. And I actually think that possibly the offender saw his footprints on some of that concrete and may have washed it down. Um, and I have That's just speculation on my part, but I do believe that there's that possibility. Um, Kirsty said, "I wonder if there was time for them to test the hose for blood." I'm sure they did. Now I don't know if they used luminol or any type of presumptive test, but um, and I haven't seen the full video, and we don't have all the information. Some of the aspects of the crime was handled well, some of it not so well. And, but that's true in all cases. It's not like the TV CSI. It's not that organized. It's chaos. It absolutely is there for a while. Um, this case is so unusual. How did he do it and get his clothes changed so quickly? And the housekeeper saw no blood. Um, that may be a test that we may run some time trials. I've been doing some walking trials for Chris, uh, and Chris is doing some also. How long would it take to walk from the house to the kennels, which I think is around 1,150 feet of travel flights. Uh, and It's easily done without even getting out of breath in around 3 minutes easily. Um, so even walking, but now if you had a four wheeler or used any type of vehicle, you're just looking at seconds. And T.S. Jackson says, "Look at that cloud." And let's see here. I'll go back to the cloud. Where is my cloud? There it is. Um, and this is just the moment of impact. And I was so lucky that my camera picked it up with the sun being perfect. And I went in on some other pictures and kind of brightened it up a little bit. But that's the actual uh, blood spatter from the point of impact on I think it's probably a quarter of a cup, maybe a little bit more than a quarter of a cup of synthetic blood. And the question, how in the heck do you have enough time? Why am I missing? For him to be, and that's the thing that we're going to see from the defense. They're going to say he didn't have enough time. There's no way because he's on his way to his mother's at 9:06, I think it is, when he heads out. And um, they're on their phones. He's making the video 8:44. So we're looking at a very small time frame. And that's going to be the main argument because if the defense can say that, and we have the data from now that we have the coordinates and the data from the movements of the vehicle, if they can show that uh, uh, the that dog's barking, but if they can show that Paul and Maggie homicide occurred at 9:06, then of course, I mean, even that when he's coming down the driveway, it's done, and that's what they're going to try to prove. And if it's 9:10 and his vehicle's traveling down the road, it's done. Um, and so uh, we know that Alex is at the kennels at the time of the video being made, and so, like I said, that's the biggest evidence right now. The defense is going to be jumping all over that timeline. We're going to hit just like the prosecution hammered on the financials. You're going you're going to see a defense hammer on a timeline, time and time and time again. Um, what are your thoughts on who was shot first? Went over it just a few minutes ago about I believe Paul was shot first for the fact that he would have went to his mother if she was being attacked. Pigeons here somewhere. I miss pigeon. Um, Love Murphy threw stuff out while he was on his route to his mom's. I think they would. I, I absolutely would believe it would have been found. Yes, we're climbing, Dave. It's absolutely. I've never, when I first started channel, I never imagined. I was looking at it, and I think when I looked at YouTube, what was the average time to get to for a channel growth, and I think it was like 22 months for 1,000 subs, and and I was, okay, let's start it, and and of course I did that in well, I think 9 weeks, and then it's gone far faster, exponentially greater than that since then. Um, okay, I'm curious how she got a tire mark on her leg, um, and I don't know how if one of the tires is turned out, exposing the full tread pattern, you could just walk by and possibly get it if you're playing with the dogs or getting in and out of the vehicle, uh, the ATV. But we haven't heard the defensive um, explanation of what's on her leg. They have a shoe expert that's coming in. Is he going to say it's tire track or shoe print? I'm looking forward to that. Esther's here. Hello, Mr. Steve. Hi, everyone. Good to see you, Esther. Um, um, Cynthia says, Steve, what was motive for this crime? Prosecution is going with that. It's financial, and that's understandable because all crimes are, a lot of them are put on the due to the motive being is some type of financial gain. And and this may be possible, courtesy that the boat case was going to expose the financial crimes, and um, he was made aware that his financial crimes had been exposed that day by the chief financial officer, and then so it's very possible that that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. And Jocelyn says, I live 300 to 400 yards from an outdoor shooting range, and sometimes it sounds like they are in my back. If he was at home, he would have heard it, in my opinion. I think you said you were doing testing on it. And that's correct. If the wind is blowing and it's a certain time of day or the humidity at a certain level, gunshot is extremely, it changes the way it travels through the air. But certain times, um, 300 or 400 yards, if the wind is blowing, and I have a range that I do a lot of shooting on, that's near my home, and if the wind's right, from inside the house, it's less than snapping your finger. If you're outside, and sometimes it just depends on the which way the wind's going and on the humidity and conditions. You really don't pay much attention, but I shoot a lot, so I don't pay any attention to that. Joanne says, "I love you. Call her Mrs. Steve. She loves it too. I can't believe it. Some people would be offended by that. But yes, 33 years. We've been together. Well, we've been together longer than that, but I've been married 33. Oh, I hope I'm not breaking up too bad. I'm sorry. Dave, you know Mrs. Steve, don't you? If she gets offended, she'll tell you. Oh, absolutely. She, oh goodness, her Southern charm. Uh, uh, if, out in public, sometimes she's absolutely brutal. Well, thought criminal, congratulations for your 11 years. Absolutely. If someone's in a drug gang, they're used to stress, using or dealing, and drugs can affect how you react to stress. Dave, it was a coincidence that we happened to be there during the search warrants, but I appreciate the support. Um, which car was the ring in? Was it the car Alec drove to his folks? Um, it's whatever her personal vehicle was that she was in that day. I think because she had went to, like I said, have um, fingernails done. I believe. Dave, well, oh man, that aggravates me so bad. Those sketches and tentacles. Southern gal, another Southern voice here on YouTube. Let's see. Let's see. Triple S. Uh, I drop stuff under the seats of my car all the time. I dropped a dime down there today in the drive. Um, yeah, I don't even want to look under my seats. You would find ammo and a lot of coins. My grandson, whenever that's how he fills his piggy bank. Is he checks out the car seats. Yeah, the ring. If she was worried doing her nails, she would have definitely left it at home. And as much as rings cost, I shoved that bad boy in my purse. Um, Mrs. Steve is the same way. Oh me, uh, that's very kind of you, Indiana Nana. Um, uh, I try to be as reasonable as I can. Let's see here. Here's what's going on here. Jennifer, good to see you. I'm glad you made it. I don't know. You may have been in here a while. Hope you're feeling better. And I agree with you, Kathy, that this case has so many twists and turns. I feel he's guilty, but worried about a hung jury. I do too. And every time that you see a case, you think, well, man, this case is messed up. It has so many twists and turns. And then you go to the next case, and it's just as convoluted as the last one, and more so. And we have, across this country, how many cases, and that if we were aware of them, it would be absolutely mind boggling trying to keep up with them. Mrs. Steve likes blueberries also. Is the prosecution allowed to argue in their closing that Alex was a prosecutor, and if anyone knows what to do with evidence, it's the prosecutor? I don't know. That is a interesting question, um, but I'm sure that regardless if they could or not, um, the um, there would be objections to it regardless. But that is a great question. I don't know. Dave says, hoping to get down to Surfside Beach again this year. Love it there. What state is Surfside? The reason I ask is that Mrs. Steve wants to live on a beach. Hello, Carrie. Good to see you here. Oh, man. See here. Thought criminal has prosecution missed a good point. When the coroner was asked by defense if they could have been dead at 8 p.m., they all video live at 8:44. Oh, yeah. I missed that. That would have been a good opportunity. You get those on the stand every now and then. Every now and then you get one of those magic questions. Where is Pigeon? Uh, Someone mentioned Pigeon earlier. Thanks for answering my question. But the lady who done the autopsy said time of death was between 9 and 9:30. Well, if they go with the 9:30, then of course there's no way that you will ever get a conviction. Um, if you go at 9, you only have those 6 minutes, and he has to get back to the house to start the vehicle. That's going to be a big issue. And um, um, like I said, there's a narrow window, and there's a lot of things that had to go on there, and that is very troublesome for the prosecution. Terry said, "I've been watching every video of him, police interviews and body cams. Guilty." Hey, really can't argue. Just as likely as not. I missed that part. He was upset over 911 operator asking if he lived in a trailer. For some reason, I haven't paid attention to that. And didn't someone say he owed 70,000 more that morning? Oh my goodness. Um, I think the financial officer, it was like 270,000. It says, "Do you believe Alex did it?" I believe he's responsible. Just my opinion. He's innocent until proven guilty, but right now, I do believe he's responsible. Uh, um, and what part he played in that, I don't know. Jennifer Rochelle says, "You're good, Steve. I'm glad you're doing better, and I hope you heal quickly." And Terry said, "What do you think about the drugs and if there are more people involved than seems?" Absolutely. You know, there's people out there that knew about his, if he is on drugs, if that is true. And then there's people involved in other crimes. And generally, in that atmosphere of a lot of criminals, a lot of bad things go on, and leads to more crime. Drug trade drives so many different crimes. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. And Kerry, this is an interesting point. Does anyone else think it's odd that he kept calling and texting Maggie when he could have just went to the kennel before he left? Isn't that why he insisted she come home? And that is a good point. For the fact that he was moving around the house, he knew she wasn't there. And I can tell you, after 33 years, I know where Mrs. Steve is at 9 o'clock. Mrs. Steve typically, due to her work and everything, she's usually asleep within minutes of 9 o'clock. And if I couldn't find Mrs. Steve at 9 o'clock, it would be a manhunt on because I know there's something wrong. Um, is your opinion is 50, 60,000 a week a ridiculous amount for drugs? It depends on what uh, his interactions with that. If he buying and selling, then of course no. But if he's buying and selling and he's not making a profit, uh, it's absolutely. And some people do that. They get into the drug business just to support them. That they'll go out and buy that much drugs, um, because they'll have a multi-thousand-dollar habit, but not 50 or $60,000 worth of it, but they could have $1,000, $2,000 habit, and they support it through their drug trade. Is that what went on? I have no idea, but that is something that law enforcement would look at. Yeah, love your show. The only ones that need to worry about your marriage is you and your wife. Yes, and that's nothing that we're going to be together till the dying day. And I say that with utmost confidence because Mrs. Steve has told me that, and what she says goes. Where were the dogs? They were all at the kennels, and I think they might even been in the wrong kennel. I think the guy that was caretaker over the dogs did that. Hello, Gary. Yeah, I thought someone mentioned pigeon earlier, Dave. I don't know what happened. Steve, does the jury have access to watch all the police interview videos and body cams when it's time to deliberate? They'll request from the court if they need anything, if the evidence brought in, they'll ask the judge, uh, and, and all the evidence can be brought into jury rooms. I don't know about South Carolina how they handle some of the videos and things. Um, they do have the ability to look at, and I don't know if they'll take it into the jury room or if the jury has to request it in South Carolina. They'll have if they need to see something, they'll request it if they don't have access to it. And what about the coroner and checking their armpit temps for their own hands for temperature to determine time of death? Yes, that the jury is just going to stare at them because that's what I've been. Once I heard that, I didn't get to see her testify to that, um, uh, and or the coroner. And I don't know if the coroner and the pathologist on this case is the same or not, but regardless of whoever said that, I would just stare at them and warn them of what are you talking about. Lex Luthor. Though the tire tracks have been ruined by the water and rain that day, it's hard for the defense to prove that anybody else other than Alex Paul and Maggie were. Yeah, that's fair enough statement. But it does show that if the tires of the side by side had mud on them that was wet, and I believe that thing's under the cover, to allow a mud transfer means that that side by side was driven in some part of the property that was ready for them to have a transfer. Um, Now, would the defense say it's mud from the tire or from the shoe? I don't know yet. And yes, Lex, the Snapchat videos, without it, I wouldn't even have a case here now. Yes, they all handled him with kid gloves and questioning. Absolutely. The only confrontation they had is, did you, when he said that, did you kill uh, Maggie or uh, Paul? Okay. So that's where the operator asked if it's a trailer and, it's a house. Okay. It is interesting that they had the opportunity from you can see the video, whatever you want to search, you have access to, and they failed to follow through that open door. And I don't blame them not following through. Um, uh, I would have went to the judge and got probable cause to search the properties um, for the fact that consent to searches are extremely hard, and you have to have the person where it uh, has full access throughout the search to be able to withdraw that consent. And but you could have went and got uh, probable cause to search the properties at night. Anytime you have a homicide, it doesn't take much to get probable cause, especially when you tell the judge that he says he'll give us consent, but we just want to make sure we um, eyes cross the T's. I hope Sled took photos of everything in the house and the bathroom before Blanca started cleaning. We don't know what the jury's seen. You can't see their screens, so I don't know what all they have photographed of. But and if they did photograph and the prosecution didn't put it in, the defense, whatever, and they have full disclosure of all evidence and all photographs and all records, that if they find something that is exculpatory within the prosecution's files, they'll throw it up there too. So they'll be looking at those pictures. Yeah, who believes he could swallow 8,000 in pills a day? No, but he would take the profits of those, or he would use up his profit if that's what he was involved in. Hey, Steve, what do you think about the police chief being in Alex's office when Tootin dropped off 250 in cash? Um, I hadn't, like I said, I haven't heard all the testimony, and I didn't know that he was in there when the 250, and I don't know in what context it was dropped off, um, and if it was in something that if he counted it out in front of the chief or not. Um, yeah, I don't know. There was such a long period before there was any searches, and I heard through the testimony that they didn't go and search a lot of places. Um, and will that come back to bite them? I believe it will. Al says obey, and that's what we do. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what they'll do inside the jury room. What their uh, discussions will be with the foreman and all that, foreperson. I don't know what they'll be able to do up there. Um, Jennifer, wouldn't it be wonderful if people couldn't kill other people? It would. And and trying to figure out, you know, and rationalize when people that, and you can't rationalize that you have an individual that thinks the best thing they can do to get out of a problem is commit a homicide. I mean, there's nothing rational about that thought process. and you see it, and I've seen it time and time and time again. Just reading through the chat, trying to get caught up. Yeah. Um, if there's a mistrial or hung jury, do you know if the case can be retried? Yes, here in Georgia, I would assume so up there. Uh, but that would be the only way I would believe. But I don't think they'll throw the trial. No. I like the judge too. Absolutely great personality, brilliant. So Southern Gal says that all the Waffle House talks made her hungry. Oh man. Um, what is your overall opinion on the process of the crime scene? I'm not real impressed with it. There was a lot of people milling about. They didn't have avenues of access, egress, uh, and people were milling about. And I don't, and that's just from a limited video. We don't have that where they're walking around and milling around. At what point during the crime scene process, and I don't know. But even the officer walking back to his car back and forth through the middle of the crime scene is not something I would have expected once. And because you would have, rather than do that, you removed and created a staging area of where everyone would gather prior to getting to that. You put an officer side of all the crime scene, and then you move away from it. And so I wasn't impressed with it a lot. And anytime you have one of the key individuals make a statement on the stand that you get involved protocol and photographing evidence is not a good sign at all. And this is a good point. In my opinion, there's so much evidence and unanswered questions, and SLED dropped the ball. Prosecution went around. Yes, prosecution went around it. But you're about to see a defense that won't go around it. They're going to bring in some experts, and that will highlight how messed up this crime scene was. Now, that's what I'm expecting. I don't know if it's going to come to pass, but I'm expecting that we're going to see SLED absolutely butchered, um, and, um, and on a lot of different levels. Um, and But that's their job, and that's what they'll do. Uh, but when they get their chance at it, I think it's going to be something to watch for. Yes, here, Jocelyn. True crime and food chat. Get your true crime questions answered while getting hungry. Oh God, that is so. Now that would be a perfect shirt. True crime and food chat. I love it. Oh, I love that. Yeah. You hear about where's a cop when you need them. Where's a cook when you need them. Excellent. Brilliant. Which prosecution brought in experts like you, Stephen, behavior, body language on his videos. Um, Thank you for the compliment. But there's a lot of people out there that are trained to do the exact same thing I was trained to do at a great expense. And some people were better at it than others, and some were not. And now the prosecution has some good experts. Even the guy they hired that, like I said, he couldn't figure out the angle or of the shotgun. He had the angle of the shotgun, but he couldn't figure out how you could get it and shoot it. And he just not realized you could lay down. Probably so, but he didn't have processed it in his mind the way that I did. And it doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean that he's right. Somewhere between there, we would have hashed it out which one it was most likely. All righty, guys. Well, we've been here almost an hour and a half. Has anyone got any other questions? And if I missed anyone on donations or memberships or any of that, I apologize. But I see that we had one or two donations, and I hope I got all the blue lights. And if I didn't, and I failed to mention you, I apologize. Gives you blue lights for all y'all's support and everything. And I appreciate y'all being here tonight. And if you like the video, share it and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We appreciate it. And thank y'all for being here tonight. Jeff says that your mic has been kind of static and garbled tonight. Just thought I would let you know. We'll look at that. I think that we'll probably be going to a mic system so it won't be that. And it could be the Wi-Fi or something. I don't know if it's always that way or not, but I thank everybody for being here tonight. And I'll see y'all on Christmas. I'm going to be on Chris's show tomorrow night on the mock crew. And then we'll be back on Tuesday talking about Abercrombie in Texas and what's about to happen there. And but y'all stay safe out there and see y'all soon. Bye.